Good morning, everyone. Suprabhat, and wishing you all a belated Happy New Year. When Keshav first asked me to speak on this topic, I always had a dream that I will speak someday on the TED Talk in any of the topic other than law. So this, I think, is a break for me for bigger things in life when I will become a little old and I will be speaking to the younger generation about my experiences as a lawyer. First, let me give a brief introduction of myself. I am born in a very small town, which is called as a mini India in Assam at the time, the industrial town, Namrup. And I grew up there. I did my schooling there. Then I shifted to Gauhati. I studied in Gauhati Commerce College and Gauhati University, and I did my law from Gauhati. My place is very near to a place where the first rays of the sun hit the Indian mainland. And we grew up in the midst of nature. So naturally, we are very inclined to be one with nature. And we all know, must have this experience that when we are young, we used to ride on our bicycle with our friends. And at the end of the annual examination, we will ride 16 kilometers to a small town called Naharkatia. And on that particular day, when the exam ends, we will watch 3-4 movies at a stress. And in the night, again, we will drive back to our home in pitch dark, in between the tea gardens and the dark trees are there. Someone may scare us with ghosts. We may fall down from the bicycle. And that was all our activity at that time is all around revolving around the cycle. One good thing that I can remember of those times is that unlike today, when I hear that my sons and daughters, some of my sons and daughters' colleagues, unfortunately have died in road accident or in a bike crash. During our time when we were young, when we used to ride cycle, there was hardly any incidents of any road accidents involving the teenagers in their bicycle. That is how we grew up. After I came to Gauhati for my college, obviously Gauhati was a big city at that time. And when I enrolled myself in the law college, at that time, law was not given a priority as a profession as of now. Now we have the national law schools and all the best cream of the society's sons and daughters, they study law. At our time, people were more inclined to study engineering or medical, and anyone who doesn't get admission in any of those colleges, they thought that they will study law, and they were not given the respect as it is given today. So when I joined the profession in 1994, it was 23rd of September. Initial days were all we have a same story to share as a lawyer. That initial days of our legal practice is full of hurdles. We have to think of our day-to-day survival. I remember the first day when I went to the court, and just like the businessman who thinks that aaj ka din ka bahani kya hua hai, the first day when I went to the court, I was standing under a tree. I didn't knew anyone because I was a first generation lawyer. I don't have any senior advocate as a father, or my father is a lawyer or a judge to guide me. I was standing under a tree, and one person came to me and he asked me that, sir, I have this problem. I said that, okay, let's go to the conference room and discuss. And after I discussed with him, he started to get up and leave. Then I said, wait, gentlemen, you have to pay my consultancy fees. Well, that man was shocked that in a trial court, a lawyer is asking consultancy fees. Then I said, then he asked me how much I have to pay you. I said 100 rupees. Then he said, it's too high. No, you can't bargain with it, because you should know that when you get into a rickshaw, you should pay the rickshaw fare. And similarly, when you are consulting a lawyer, you have to pay 100 rupees. So on the first day, I, along with my friend who is no more, since we are together, at the end of the day, my total earning was 100 rupees. So 40 rupees I gave it to my friend, and 60 rupees I brought it and gave it to my mother. Then my mother, as usual, like in all our families, the mother went to the Ganesh temple, and she gave some this bunia laddus and some nariyal and all. And after returning from the temple, she gave me all those prasad and returned me 40 rupees. That is how I started my profession. Then after joining the profession, I always had a dream to wear a Ray-Ban sunglass, because at that time Rajiv Gandhi and Sanjay Gandhi and all those big politicians used to wear the Ray-Ban sunglasses and ride in the aircraft and so all. So as a youngster, I always had a dream to buy Ray-Ban sunglass. So initially, the first day was 100 rupees. And since my peer was good, I had friends from all these different circles. I was associated with different clubs and all. So my first earning in the month was suddenly it got into rupees 10,000. So I could afford a Ray-Ban sunglass of 1,400 rupees at that time. And I used to wear the Ray-Ban sunglass and wait outside the court, hoping that some clients will come and recognize me. So my first 3 months of this practice went in this way. So after that, it was, I think, in 1997, initially when it was manual typewriting, then first electronic typing came, then computer came. So when computer came, I thought that it is very advantageous to have a computer. So I should sacrifice all things and buy a computer with a big printer. So normally at that time when we go to the bank, they will not give us loan. Lawyers, politicians, police are always considered as bad loan client for the bank. And so naturally I was a lawyer, so they did not want to give me the loan to buy a computer, which was around 72,000 rupees at that time. So my friend was the manager. He said that, Bhaskar, I'm giving it you at my own risk. You take it this computer and 2,100 will be your monthly installment. I said, okay, because I knew the advantages of computer even at that age. And they gave me the installment for 3 years. And I was so regular in paying the installment. The last installment was given as a rebate to me. And that way I started my practice with the computer in 1997. Initially, as a lawyer, I did not have much choice of the cases that I have to do. The cases decided what type of lawyer I become. Today, by the grace of God, people say that I'm a very good criminal lawyer in the entire Northeast, and my knowledge of criminal law is very good. But you'll be surprised to know that as a lawyer, I got banned in penal code. And my wife was a gold medalist in law. So she will always joke me that, yeah, you two got back in law and you got married to me, who is a gold medalist, when she is angry. And I said, madam, listen, I have studied the same subject for 2 years. That's why my conception of criminal law is so good. And today people come me for all their criminal law issues. So that way is an optimistic way of looking at things. And as a lawyer, during that time, I still remember during that 1997 to 2000 that time, client used to come at 2 o'clock in the house. Since I did not have a choice, my client was limited. I used to give appointment and even at night at 2 o'clock. So all of us lawyers have a similar story to share. Someone will say that if someone comes to the house, sometimes we have to think how to pay the rent of the house. I still remember after the marriage, my bank balance was only rupees 1,500. And for the first month to pay the house rent and to buy the essential of the house, I have to sell the Sridhan necklace of my wife. And that is how I started my practice. Of course, that was for a very brief period. After 97, when my daughter was born, I never had to look back. And from there, I slowly started building my practice. Today, the topic that I have been chosen is that I always had an interest in physical activities. Okay. And before, when I was young, I always had a dream to become a good photographer. So as a photographer at the time, not much respect was given. To a lawyer, to some respect was given only after you become established. Today, the bank runs after me to give the credit card. That's another story. But as a photographer also, you are not given much respect. So when I first shifted to Gauhati, I wanted to be independent. And then I became a freelance press photographer. That means during the period from 1989 to 94, when I was studying law, simultaneously I became a freelance press photographer. I became a casual production assistant and Doordarshan Kendra Gauhati for all these years, because after degree my family would not like me to support financially, and also I wanted to become independent. And to sustain myself in this big city, I used to take classes in all those coaching institute. They will pay me 200 rupees per hour for each of the class. But one thing I always kept in mind, that to be something in life, or if you want to enjoy the good fruits of life, because in the law profession, everything comes slowly and late in life. It is said that you will have meat and fish to eat, but you may not have teeth when you become successful, or your health will let you down when you have all the good things in life as a lawyer. So I always was attracted towards physical activities. When I was studying law, I used to swim, and there is a big tank in Gauhati called Digoli Pukhuri, where I used to swim the length and breadth of that Pukhuri, and people were surprised because I learned swimming only when I was in college. Then during the initial period of practice, that is from 94 to say around 2002-4, I did not have much time to do any physical activities, except I made it a habit that come rain, sun, or wind, every morning at 5 o'clock, I will go and climb a hill near my house for 1 hour. And from 6 o'clock in the morning, I will start my chamber. And in the evening, if I get a time, there was a gym near my house where I used to go and work out. Since my dream was to become a photographer, so I did not have the money to buy a camera. And my father also could not have enough resources at the time to give me to buy a camera. So once when I went to Calcutta, I still remember in Kidarpur Dock, there is a foreign market. I forgot the name of the market, where you get all those Nikon, Yashica cameras. At that time, it was, I think, around 97, 98 that year. So I went to that foreign market, and I touched the Nikon FM2 model at that time. And I said that one day I'll buy this camera. Come what maybe, I'll save and buy this camera. So that went, and like that dream was to be fulfilled at some point of time of life. So after I joined profession, the photography, the TV, all that came to an end. But one good advantage of that, my particular hobby, was that in the meantime, from 1989 to 94, I became friends with all the photographers, journalists of Northeast India. I was the youngest one who was a photographer at that time, and I became very friendly with the media people. Today, all my friends in media of that time are all editors of the news channels and newspapers out here. There's an interesting story behind it. And I will tell you that as a lawyer, it's always good to be friends with the media. Why? Because at the initial days of my practice, when I used to do some PIL or some cases concerning social and public issues of Assam, the media, my friends in media will always highlight it. So when my senior used to do some PIL, so I always wanted that my name should be shown as that so-and-so is assisted by Mr. B.D. Kaur, junior counsel or counsel. So when my senior did newspaper, people will call the senior my senior. Then that who was there in the case, senior will obviously tell his name. She will not say my name. But after some time, my friends in the media will call me and ask that, Bhaskar, are you in the case? I said, yes, I was the assistant counsel. So next day in the paper, my senior will read it in the morning and see that my name has appeared along with the senior. For a long time, he didn't know what was the secret, that I didn't say the name of the junior, but still his name comes out in the paper. That way, from the entire states of Assam, from Hodia to Dhubri, people came to know that I'm a lawyer who is actively involved in the public and social issues of Assam. So in 2006, I was not very happy with the way the profession was turning up, and there was temptation to go to America. So for 1 month, I decided that I should go to America and see what I could do there. So whatever bank balance I had around that time, I think it was around 15 lakhs, I converted into dollars and left India for America for 1 month. I roamed the entire states of America thinking that I can join a law firm there. And after 1 month, I realized that I will be a clerk there and I have to do a bridge course and all this and sell burger at KFC or McDonald's to sustain my education there. Then I decided it is better that I be someone who is known in my town and the city, and so I should not think of coming to America. So I returned back to India after 1 month. So in 2006, my practice started picking up. Then I decided that I should purchase a camera. Okay. Then from 2006, slowly, I started purchasing the camera equipments and all the dream that I have to have accessories of the cameras, of light and everything. I started purchasing and building slowly my for all the accessories that are required for my hobby. So initial days was very good that I was associated with all news which was related to yes, events of in the which was hog the headlines of paper. Now this photography as a hobby at that time, I can't go and click those pictures of the dharna and the picketing or the police lathi charge after I became a lawyer. I decided that I should have a small home studio in my home. And during my spare time as a lawyer, to distress myself and to get myself involved in some creative work, I decided that I should have a home studio. In the home studio, I started, then initially I started to click pictures for some of my designer friends of Gauhati who used to design those ethnic clothes of Assam and all. So I started clicking their pictures, and they still said that Bhaskar has a talent for clicking beautiful girls' pictures. So slowly, my home studio became very busy for my friends and all. But it has a disadvantage also. Sometimes your hobby may affect your atmosphere at the home also, because when I started clicking pictures and all these pictures were shared in the social media and all, then some of the girls or the models, they used to come to my house and ring my bell. Then when my wife opens the bell, this new generation are all smart girls and boys, they will say that is BD at home. My wife will say that this girl looks like my of her daughter's age and he's calling my husband by BD, because in all the photography circle of Assam, I was known as BD. So she will not appreciate it. She would say that you go away now, so he's not at home. Later on, when I will return my home, it is expected my wife will not be happy. She will say that you are clicking pictures of your daughter's age, and you should not click pictures of model. You should click pictures of your travels, of your food and all those photography. Why model? But back of the mind, I always had a dream to become a fashion and glamour photography. So I should one day click fashion and glamour photography. So one of my friend who was a news portal in Assam, I used to write fashion bites for him because I was interested in fashion and especially in sustainable fashion, which is eco-friendly fashion, and which is, I was very interested in all those topics. So by a nickname, I used to write fashion bites for him. And ultimately, one day he offered me that, Bhaskar, you should go to Lakme Fashion Week in Mumbai as one of our representative, and you will get an opportunity to click pictures there, and you will send me the fashion bites. I said that 5 days holiday in Mumbai with all paid, and I'll be clicking the best of models and designers of India. So why I should lose that? So that 5 days in every 6 months or 1 year became a holiday for clicking pictures of fashion in Mumbai. So when I went to Mumbai for the first year, I never disclosed that I was an advocate. I went there and as a photographer, because I want to brush up my talent. I want to see who are the best designers of India who are participating in the Lakme Fashion Week. For 4 years, I clicked pictures there in the Lakme Fashion Week, sitting in the pit with the other fellow photographers. Since I was a little bit senior, they used to give me a stool to sit. Otherwise, you have to squat on the floor, and for 12 hours at a stretch, sometimes you have to click pictures. So ultimately, for fashion and all, the Bombay was the highest. And once I have reached that pinnacle as a photographer, then I decided that I should also concentrate on my travel photography and all, since I love travel. Initially, too, as I have told you, the person whose bank balance was only 1,500 after marriage, and who was not even given a credit card when he went to his first travel in 2006. From 2006, I started my hobby as a travel photographer. I used to travel all over the world. Initially, in 2006, the first country I visited was Singapore, Malaysia. Then in 2007, I went to US. Then today, I have traveled almost half the world. I have gone to Japan around 4 times, and I did a photo series in Hiroshima for Hiroshima for a group. I did a travel photography for a blog of boats in Thailand.
Korea also I did, Australia and all those places, including Indonesia. But among all the places that I have traveled, Thailand was always my favorite. I have gone a number of times there because people are friendly, and we, the Northeast people, share almost the same food habit as the Thai people. People say that our original linkage belongs to Thailand. So Thailand is always my favorite. Now, everything, travel as a hobby, then photography as a hobby was going on smoothly, and I was enjoying my creativity and all these things. Now, during the Corona, I remember in March 2019, 24th of March 2019, when the first lockdown was started. So nobody expected that that we will all have to face such a situation, because lawyers always, most of the lawyers, I will not say some, there will be always be exception. We always spend money that tomorrow we will earn money. When we have money, will not even think of feeding anyone or giving party and all. We all will live like a king size. Suddenly, with the onset of the corona, since many families were dependent on me, we have one of the biggest law firm in the Northeast. So many families were dependent on us. Suddenly, I find that initial 2-3 months, I was enjoying everything. And when it was lockdown, because that was after walking from say 9 to 11 o'clock at a stretch, sometimes to 12 o'clock in the night. So lockdown was initially a very good break for us, initial first 2 months. But slowly I realized that it is catching up mentally and on us, on our because every day the fixed expenses are there, earning has stopped. So how to remain fit yourself during this time? So initially, although my first cycle after coming to Guwahati, I purchased in 2014, but because I was one of the heaviest cyclists, I always used to have a puncture on the road, and I used to carry the cycle in either in an auto van or a auto rickshaw to my home. So from 2014, I was not, although I have a track cycle at that time, I did not used to ride it much. But after the lockdown, when it was my mental stress was going up, my anxiety level was going up, because I have so much of people's lives are dependent on the lawyers. People, so many cases will become infractures. We will, if we don't give the justice to them within a particular time frame. Then I decided that I should pick up cycling. But when I pick up cycling, initially I used, the first day when I used to ride for say 5 kilometers, I was exhausted because I was very heavyweight. Although I was physically fit, I'm not those lean and thin and hungry looking, but I'm physically, I'm a fit. Even at this age, I can run, walk, but the jogging was never my favorite. So I pick up a low intensity hobby or physical exercise like cycling. So in his first day, when I cycled for 10 kilometers, exhausted. Then one of my friend, who is one of the most reputed businessman, who was the first boy of our class, we both decided that we should start cycling. And one good thing of our friendship is that we are very particular about our time. So we started cycling, and slowly we built up the distance. And one day I decided that I will ride the 200-kilometer BRM. But when I decided to go for the 200-kilometer in my cycle, I had a crash on the way, and I came home in a car. Then later on, I decided that why I could not complete the 200 BRM. Then next time when again the 200 BRM was held, then all the things that which I had missed to do it in the first occasion, I covered it up and I completed the 200 BRM in 12 and a half hours. You imagine 200 kilometer in 12 and a half hours continuous riding, break between. And now my fitness level has gone to such an extent that tomorrow on February 6th, I again plan to do another 200-kilometer ride in my bicycle. Bicycle is good so far as a hobby, because you have a 180-degree view, and if you love nature, you will always be in a bicycle. You can go to those places. We have discovered around 17 waterfalls in and around Gauhati city. Some of the places which I would have never gone, the countryside of near Gauhati, I had gone to those places, and my videos and all will also those beautiful images to places where I have gone. And cycling, so far as a lawyer is concerned, I think that it is a good stress buster. It is an anxiety buster, and you can means even in the court, your whole attitude changes. Otherwise, you get and all free gifts of blood pressure, diabetes, and all. You will get it by mid-50s. So I always appeal to my juniors that you indulge yourself in one physical activity as a hobby. Watching TV can't be your hobby. Reading books can't be your hobby. So at least indulge in one physical activity, because that will sustain you in the long run. Because even if you have all the money in the world, always remember that you can't ride two cars at a time. You can't live in two houses at a time. You can't sleep in two beds at a time. And if you have two wives, with that stress, you will always die young. So many things in life are always to be enjoyed singly, alone. And I ask or request all my junior advocates who are online in the show, who will be watching it later, that at least have a physical activity, and it's especially during these difficult times. I understand that many of us are going through tough times, but remember, my photography technique, my video technique, which I used to learn in Dudashan, is now becoming useful even in my this hybrid mode. You are now seeing the screen of mine. It's lighted. On one corner, you will see a bright blue light. On the other, you may see a pink light. These are all techniques I have learned in life, and I'm utilizing it now to the hybrid mode. I'm using a camera of high resolution from Logitech. I'm using an audio input from Rode so that my audio becomes clear. Of course, hybrid mode or video conferencing can't replace the physical mode, because in physical mode, it is always, you have a 3D view, and your body language, your delivery, your presence and atmosphere in that court, it can't be replaced by video conferencing. But video conferencing is good for short matters, small issues and matters where you, as a lawyer, you have more time, because once you know that at 12 o'clock your video conferencing is over, at 1 o'clock you can take out your cycle for 2 hours, or go to a place where there is less traffic. You can put the cycle in your car, and then you can ride on those village and country road. So I always think that that lawyer, whether it is walking, jogging, swimming, so many activities we can do as a lawyer, which will keep us fit for the good times ahead, I would say. Always an age can't be a bar for any activities. We as a human being can always take our body out of that comfort zone and do things which we'll enjoy in our life. And this is a short story of my hobby. Now I of course enjoy cooking, which I have picked up during my lockdown period. Now I'm one of the best cook in my house, in the family. I love cooking for my vegetarian friends, because I want to beat their Maharaj in those vegetarian cuisines. My wife, of course, is not very fond of cooking, but when her in-laws and all come, now I've become as a good brother-in-law or son-in-law who can cook good food for her family also. And when they appreciate, so definitely she enjoys it. Of course, my style of cooking food is more of a restaurant style than than the home style of my wife. My wife food is all healthy, all good. But mine is a little restaurant style, party style. I love to have good food. So although I am one of the heaviest cyclists in the city, I ride my cycle. Now, of course, my cycle is one of the most beautiful cycle in the world. The brand which I'm riding now is Argon 18. In the last Tokyo Olympic, that brand has won medals in the cycling there. So I am having the best part of my life. And there is no ends to people's wants. You have to know where to stop and do something for yourself. You enjoy the life, you give time to your family. And I always remember that the tough times will not last forever. This pandemic will slowly improving. Now this slowly the courts will open up, and we'll all have come back to the good times ahead. And with this, I conclude my interaction with you. I am always there for the juniors who wants to have a word with me. My number is always private. If you want to know something more about me, you can Google my name and see it. Of course, 80% will be good. 20% someone may say that negative things about me also. This is all part of life. Where there is darkness, there is always light. So with this word, I conclude my session here. And if someone wants to put me a question, I will be definitely glad to answer it.
Sir, this is Advocate Abhishek Singh from Bombay. I would
Yes.
like to have one question.
Yes, yes.
Sir, the way you share your experience first day of your court when you got the 100 rupees. So from that, I get a one point which I would like to ask to you, that you started consultation directly with your client without telling your fees. Then what is the essential part and what is the importance that as a lawyer we should disclose the fees in advance or afterwards?
No, you see, now we have developed a system where we, before, of course, those were initial days. See, it's like that. If you ride a rickshaw, you have to pay the rickshaw fare. The rickshaw wala didn't have to tell you the fare at the beginning when you ride it. When you ride a city bus, you have to pay the fare. You don't have to know the fare of the city bus. This is, of course, for argument's sake. But now we have developed a system where, whether to give an honest opinion to the clients, we have a system where we take a consultancy fees or a conference fees at the beginning. My job of office or the chamber will quote a conferencing fees for a particular time slot, and we discuss it. If a case is really a case is make out, because now we have reached a position where we take cases to win. We don't take cases where we can't make out a case. At least we are honest to the client by taking a consultancy fees. And if ultimately we decide to file a case, then this consultancy fees is adjusted with the main fees. We'll say, if I can afford it as, then he has always the option to engage us. But there are some cases where we don't do it for money. Say for a compassionate appointment of a lady whose husband was a government servant, suddenly her husband is no more. Then there the question of fees and all those things doesn't come. For, say, National Security Act cases, which is a black law, I consider I don't charge fees for it. I don't charge fees for the public interest litigation, which I do, which are mostly pro bono works. And of course, also some of the cases of custodial debts, and also I don't take fees. And one other things that I always avoid is to take contingency fee on the happening of an event. Say, suppose a person dies in custody, my philosophy is like that I don't bargain with a dead person. Normally, those cases I do free of cost to those bereaved family. That's my
Very good,
philosophy
sir.
in life as a lawyer. But as a lawyer, I can't refuse brief. But I normally avoid cases of child rapist, drugs cases also I avoid, because now I can make a choice. As a lawyer, it will be wrong to say that I will not do particular kind of cases. But these are the cases because I am also the father of a daughter, and my wife is there, and also those cases I make a choice on my personal level. But as a lawyer, you can't say that you will not do a particular case if you are on the criminal side practice, because a person is always presumed to be innocent until proved guilty in accordance with law. And so I was very happy that you are practicing in Bombay High Court. To know the intellectual property laws, I went to Bombay for 2 years. And there, from the lawyers during the interaction, I learned so many things. And I will tell you, Bombay High Court is one of the best courts that I have visited there. The interaction with the then Chief Justice was so good, and I enjoyed practicing for those 2-3 years before Corona in Bombay High Court.
Right, sir. May I share? This is my personal experience. Whenever we disclose the fees in our advance, now in most of the cases, we don't get those clients.
No,
Sir,
see, you see, if a client can't afford you, then you have to let it go. And another principle is that you should follow in the fraternity is that, suppose a lawyer comes and tells you that I have discussed this matter with or someone else, and I have already signed an ukalatama, but I have not filed the cases. My seniors have always told me that, Bhaskar, don't do those cases, because he has already gone to one of our brothers. So avoid taking up these cases. That is what
right,
I
sir.
followed as a principle. But that clients will come and go, but we have to live with our brothers and sisters. So
Correct.
as when they say that they have discussed with a particular lawyers, but that trending slowly decreasing, because now we take no objection certificate from the other council's chamber and we take up the cases. When we know that that lawyer was not at fault to get an early hearing for this case, or it was not his fault for not getting an interim order. But this is slowly with times, people are changing. There will always be some who will be different from the crowds, but this is part of our practice, and we
Yes,
must
yes,
always
yes, sir.
remain honest to our profession.
Correct, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your experience.
So definitely, sir. So there is another question from Miss Smriti. Miss Smriti, would you want to ask the question yourself or should I ask it? So her question is, sir, what advice will you give to a first generation lawyer? And how hard is it for the first generation advocate to establish his or her name?
See, in the present context, I always remember that it is always tough for a first generation lawyer because he has to start from zero. Whereas the sons and daughters of the judges or the senior advocates always start at least 5 years ahead of us, because they will be appearing before the if they are sons and daughters of the judges, they will be appearing before the colleagues of their fathers and all, or even if their father is a high court judge, they have some aura around among themselves when they go and appear before the trial court and all. But I always say to my juniors, who are also, most of my juniors are first generation lawyers, and I always say that you will remember that they are 5 years here, so you should put in more effort for your branding. You should when there are less cases, you should put up more effort on your research work and try to build up your practice as a teamwork. I always believe that law practice is better in a teamwork. Why? Because 5 fingers of a hand are not same. Someone may be very good in drafting, someone may be very good in oratory skill, someone may be very good in administration of the lawyer chamber. So if you, or someone may be good in research work. So if you work in a team, it is easier to beat the lawyers, the third generation, the fourth generation, or the lawyers who think that the corridors of the court are juggies for them. It's not that. Even a fourth generation lawyer can beat them. I'm a fourth generation lawyer in my family. I have told that I started my practice on day one with 100 rupees note, with 100 rupees fees. And I shared it with my friend. And by the blessing of God, today at least I have not to think about what to eat tomorrow. So first generation lawyers can also do, but they have to put in more effort. Say, if their typing skill is only with 2 fingers, for an example, they should learn how to use the 10 fingers. And of course, now research work has become easier of the online SCC or Manupatra or those online, because now research work is easier. Of course, all these softwares are very expensive. So if you work initially with a group of your friends, then it is easier to build up your practice. I think I became senior advocate after 20 years of practice. And when I was around 18 years of practice, I was given an offer by one of the chief justices then to that, Bhaskar, whether you have an inclination to join as a judge. I said that I can never be a judge because I don't have the temperament. I know myself. I don't have the temperament of a judge. I want to be with nature. I love, I am a social person. I'm very vocal about the issues of Assam. I had filed a PIL in regard to burn, witch hunting, the list goes on. So I am a person who is always active in the media, criticizing the government, although I can call the CM of Assam by his first name, but I will not mince any word if he has done something which is against public interest. So that way I am very vocal in the media of Assam. So first generation lawyers is only that they have to burn more midnight oil than the second and the third generation lawyer. They should not take too much of distraction. And for the good days when a first generation lawyer becomes a advocate who can establish himself in the society, for that day at least he must be physically and mentally fit to enjoy the reaps of his hard work. That's my advice to the first generation junior lawyers.
So very good advice and actually very motivating advice. So I think Dr. Sai Kumar wants to ask a question, sir.
No, nothing.
All right, sir.
Nothing. Only one suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Konwar, BD.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You are since in the media, very impressive. This is first time we had somebody's personal experience. So nothing is truth than the original experience. And I salute to you. True disclosure, which is everybody's case, first generation or generation. Only two things we all should, on India basis, we all should put before the parliament. Number one is that 5 years law course should be made practical, like chartered accountant doctors, the resident doctors, the chartered article clerks, all are given practical training. So even after 60 years, this is one of the best profession. Still we are under theory only. So that as you have gone from 1994 to 97, then up to 2002, absolutely clearly informed under a senior, and a senior, unless I'm not saying anything against anybody personally, but unless your father or somebody are known friend, then only they'll teach. Otherwise, you will take time. That precious time is gone. Like doctors, they resident, they operate the body, they anatomy, they come out, they know. So the first suggestion is introduce practical training at law itself. Again, here you have rightly said that advocate, that judges, dynasty system is on.
Sir is right so far his observation is concerned. I still remember that when I was a junior advocate, sometimes my seniors, although I didn't have walk in another court, they will send me to the court and not let me watch the proceedings. Because as a lawyer, junior lawyer, I used to know that if I do the drafting in the chamber and if I ultimately don't hear the argument, I will not know the tricks of the profession. So I would go and peep from the outside from the door, or I will ask my wife to sit in the court and take into note all the words uttered by the seniors so that I can make a memory in my mind that, oh, this is the petition and this is what you have ultimately thrown in the court to get an interim order. Because law profession, all the first generation lawyers or the juniors who are there, you remember that even if you don't have cases, if you observe the proceedings of the court, you learn a lot. You have to see the good lawyers, how they place the citation, how they make the opening and closing line in a case, because the opening and closing line of the cases are the most important. And our 5 years law course or 3 years law course are not practical. I have been always advocating it. I have seen the chambers of the judges becoming, all the juniors becoming judges, but it is okay. They have become judges, but we should not get disheartened, because as a lawyer, the ultimate aim is that one day you become a senior advocate. There are many lawyers who deserve senior, but for one reason or another, they never became senior in the lifetime. But once you became the senior advocate, you have to raise your own bar for your knowledge of the law, because knowledge nobody can take you from away. Someone may take your brief away, but knowledge will nobody can take away. It is your own personal investment and capital, which will be your own sole property.
I'm talking about only procedure and practice should be practically.
There's some difficulty is that most of the chambers are crowded here. I, of course, have a policy that in every month, I take fresh intern who are studying law from different colleges of India. Now, before COVID, I had it in batch 3-4 Indians. They can come in the chamber, observe how a case is prepared, how draftings are done, and even interaction of the seniors with the juniors, they learn a lot of things. Of course, it is a 2 months, 3 months period as per their convenience. Now, during the Corona period, the students from different law colleges of India have come with us and sat with us, and they have enjoyed being part, and they have realized now that how they have to study from the practical point of view, because theoretically you may be a gold medalist in law. Of course, I hope that my wife is not watching this show. But practical is a different field. There you have to learn how to swim yourself, because swimming you can't learn it in your books. You have to swim it yourself. You have to get wet in water to know the art of advocacy. That is what I always believe. That is what is law practice all about.
So, sir, with that, sir, I very briefly just want to introduce. There was this question from Miss Monica also, which was that when BD sir, you got confused at that point of time, who guided you as a first generation lawyer?
Yes, see, my from 94 to 97, I was not married. I got married in 97 February. My wife was a very disciplined and very orderly woman, and everything is speak and span. If there was some machine to put me inside that machine to get a bath, she would have put me like it in a washing machine. So whenever I had difficulties in my life, so in the first month when I was not able to pay the rent, my wife sold her necklace which was given by her mother, and we got around 25,000 rupees. 21,000 we paid for the house rent. 3,000 I gave it to one of my friends to buy curtains for my house. And at that time also I ensured
that I have a computer, I have a table and 3 chairs there. Those 3 chairs are still in my chamber, so that I can telephone landline at that number. Yeah, landline at that time. If you want to have a landline, you need to have a recommendation of the MP to get a landline. So I was a very popular as a student leader. So I had a landline number in my home, and that is how I started. And whenever I had difficulty, since my wife was a lawyer, she always supported in me. And even when buying the first flat, she paid the first installment for the flat. Later on, I paid the entire loan. That's different. My wife was a very supportive in my practice. And in 2014, I was even suspended from my bar association because I did not go on strike. I was twice vice president of that association. I was one of the youngest member of the Northeast Bar Council, but that did not dishearten me. For 2 years, I had difficult times from 2014 to 2016 because I could not sit in the chambers. I was not allowed to sit in the chambers. Nobody would say anything, but I was, since I had difference of opinion. In 2016, I think 2016 or 17, they again took me back, and they banned me from 5 years from contesting election, because probably they thought that this guy, if he contests election, he will become one day the president of the bar. And you never know that I may become one day the president of the Gauhati High Court Bar Association if I incline to do it. But now again, those friends have come back. They have also realized that I had fought it only on principle. So there are ups and downs in life. Today, even during the Corona times, everyone is facing difficulty. Of course, the difficulty for some, it will be 100, for some it will be 1,000, and for some it will be in lakhs. So this tough time will not last long. I understand that the juniors are facing a tough time because they have to pay their loan installment of the car. They have to pay the loan installment of the flats. Everyone is facing difficulty. As a senior, whatever we get, we should share with them, and at least wait for the next few months and hope that everything becomes same as before. That's my only prayer before God.
Bhaskar sir, thank you so much for your time, sir. It has been absolutely wonderful, sir. The comment boxes are actually filled with a lot of appreciation, not just about the topic, but also about your oratory skills, as well as the discussion which you and Dr. Sai Kumar sir had. And I think probably we should have another session just exclusively for that.
It's a very inspiring speech, very inspiring.
Sir, I am this way only.
Outright.
Whatever you
I
see me,
appreciate that.
I didn't prepare anything from anything. This was just an
It is directly from the heart. It is directly from the heart.
I'm this way only. And I appeal all my friends that they would all come to visit Northeast in Gauhati. Whenever you're there, you can always ping me. And I have made a small ending video of my places that I have gone in my cycle in Northeast. I will request Keshav to play it at the end of the program.
Definitely, sir. I will just, sir, we have any which ways taken more time than what you had already allocated, and we're very grateful for that. And so with that, I'll just start that video right now, sir, with your permission.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. I'll just start.
This is my experience as a photographer and a videographer.
So this is Bhaskar sir's page also. Please, I have shared the link also with everyone so that you may follow.
I'm not very active in Instagram, but I'm active in Facebook.
So we will be sharing this on our group as well,
yes.
So that everyone can refer to it again.
And it was a pleasure. I believe that one day I will speak in the TED Talks of my experience. This is a good learning experience for me.
So it is absolutely, so we are absolutely thrilled to have you on board and on our panel today. And we thank you so much. I thank you on behalf of all of our participants also, sir. And we have very esteemed people who are here. So it's really great to first of all have the interaction of with you and for all of these participants.